So it's a pretty nice day again today. It's been an amazing summer. We had another thunderstorm. It wasn't really windy this time. So that's 2 in a row, and we've had flood warnings and all kinds of stuff 2 times in a row. I don't even think they were a week apart. But we had another one last night, just torrential rains. But once again, made it through it. This time the well did better. Last time the well, it did okay. I've learned some things about the well. I guess you're never too old to learn from your dad. We were discussing the well. I've never really talked about it too much. And he concluded something that I hadn't considered. This is an old well. It's probably dug in the 60s. I've said that many times, and then people are gonna say, you're always repeating yourself. Well, you got to in order to actually make a story. So what happens is when it rains really, really hard, or it rains for a really long time, groundwater is getting down into the well. And so I have to flush it out. But the thing I didn't realize is back in the old days, they used to have a pump that was above ground, and they would run a hose down there and it would suck the water out of it. That's why they dug these relatively shallow. This one's 100 feet deep. It's pretty standard, I guess, back in the 60s. Now they dig them down to 400 feet. He was saying that his mom, my grandparents, had a well, and I know they did. In their first house that I remember, they lived in 2 houses while I was alive. In the first house, they had this huge well house around, and it had an above ground pump. Well, those things didn't pump very fast. Nowadays, they'll dig a well down to 400 feet, and they have a submersible pump, which is what I got, and you submerge that down into the water, and it can pump anywhere. Well, this one pumps 15 gallons a minute. The other one I had that I replaced with this one was 30 gallons a minute. I mean, it just floods it out. Now, when you normally have a well, you have a pressure tank, and the water is pumped into the pressure tank, and the pump shuts off after the tank gets to a certain pressure. Well, when you turn your faucet on, the pump doesn't kick on right away. The water is fed out of the pressure tank into your house. And then when the pressure drops down to a certain pressure, then the well pump kicks back on. So I'm using hypothetical numbers. Let's say the well pump kicks on when the pressure tank gets to 15 pounds, and it comes up, fills up, and then when it gets to, let's say, 30 pounds, it shuts off the well pump. So you got that fluctuation in water pressure with your pressurized tank. Well, this way I have it set up, it just pumps water right out and shoots it out. So I actually have to throttle it down. Otherwise, the pump would overwhelm the well and remove all the water from it. As long as I don't turn it down too low, it's okay. If I turn it down too low, the well pump could run into a deadhead, which means it's pumping and there's no water inside the pump because it all steamed off because it got so hot in there. So you got to make sure there's a good flow of water. Well, about 5 gallons a minute is a good flow for this, that it doesn't deadhead. I didn't want to get too complicated with the deadhead idea, but that's what it is. Then I pump about 5 gallons per minute into the IBC tank. Well, Dad was explaining what he thinks is wrong with it. I absolutely agree now that he explained it. Is you have 2 layers of water underground. You have the water table, and the water table is like a lake of water underground. Now, it's filled with rock and calcium and all that, but it's just water. Clean, beautiful water. On top of that, then you start getting into bedrock. And if the water rises up into the bedrock, for whatever reason, that bedrock will make the water look murky, dirty. But for some reason, that murky water doesn't necessarily fall down into the bedrock water. It stays afloat for some reason. I don't understand it, but that's what I've noticed, is that after a hard rain, I'll turn the pump on, and for 15 minutes, it's clean, fresh water. And then it starts to turn murky. So what's happening is the well pump is starting to pull water down from the bedrock into the water table, because the water table isn't keeping up with the well. Well, if you had a pressurized tank, that would never happen, because the well pump would fill up the tank, pump shuts off. You'd only run the pump for maybe a minute or 2, whereas I run mine maybe for 30 minutes. So that dirty water's coming down into the well level. So that means I have to flush out the well. So I think we figured out what the problem is. There is no solution to this. It's no big deal. I'll still have to flush it out, but at least I know the well is not defective. Now, all that being said, I wanted to talk about California. California just passed a law that, I don't know, a certain area in California, I don't know what county, I really don't care, but they just passed a law that says that if you own a well, you now have to pay a water bill. You will have to install a water meter onto your well, and you will have to calculate how much water you use each month, and then you will pay whoever, the county, the city, I don't know who it is, a water bill. And they've got it all figured out, how much they got to pay and how many acre feet and all that jazz. I don't know what it all means. So now they have to get educated on how much they have to pay to the city for well water that is on their property, because California considers water a public resource. The government owns water in California, whereas in Missouri, the water on your property is your water. There's several states that say that the water is theirs. I think Oregon is one of them, California. I think Washington doesn't allow you to own your own water. Link on the little pop-up at the end of the video, a little pop-up screen. I'll link a video that I just made where I was talking about California's running out of water. And I went through this big rant about how they wanted to pump water from Louisiana, the Mississippi River in Louisiana, all the way to California, over mountains and dales and all that. And I've actually read the engineering idea behind this. I read the whole article. It's crazy. It's going to cost a fortune. And I'm quite frustrated about it. California runs out of water, and Louisiana has to pay for it. Well, I was told, Rob, you're being ridiculous. California supplies fruits and vegetables to you. You're going to want those fruits and vegetables. And they raise crops in California. And you're going to want those crops so you can feed your animals. Well, no, I don't care about any of that. I don't think they should be stealing water from Louisiana. Louisiana didn't do anything to them. I said California has been neglectful on how much water they use. They use a massive amount of water. A lot more water here than in Missouri. They want to keep their lawns nice and pretty in California. So what they do is they go and water their lawns. So I was thinking, hey, maybe these people shouldn't be watering their lawns. Instead, maybe they should just stop and really reduce the amount of water. Well, no, that's not the way California responded to me in my video. They chewed me out and said, no, you need to understand. So the way this California works is they are the takers and we are the providers. And that's the way they see it. They don't see it any other way. Even my audience was very upset with me that I would suggest that California reduce the amount of water they use. Well, why would you expect that? So now they're going to take payment from people who have a well. So if you have a well in California and you've been trying to conserve water because it costs you money, when you turn that pump on, it costs you money. So you try to conserve water and try to live resourcefully, but now, not anymore. You are now required to pay, this is what's so funny, to pay the city money or county or whoever so they can help build this monstrosity from Louisiana, I guess, to California. They're making it everybody else's responsibility, all while all these residents of California who said I need to understand. I don't need to understand anything. I raise my own food for my chickens and my chickens provide me food. So no, I don't need California's fruits and vegetables. And this is just going to continue to be this way. I mean, we've seen it all through history where some country, I'm not going to say it on YouTube, but a big country decided that they wanted to squash a little country. So they starved over 100 million of them by taking their food. These farmers of this country, working hard, they all had starved to death within a year. 100 million of them dead. Well, that's what California's saying. Well, we're just going to take what these guys have because they've managed their soil and they manage their wells and they manage their water and they didn't use more. Well, Rob, this is not California's fault. This is climate change. Okay, this is climate change. And who is the biggest polluters of all of the climate changer people? The people in Hollywood and California with their big SUVs and their airplanes, and they're so rich and spoiled they get to do everything they want. So now, if you have a well on your modest little piece of property, you have to figure out how to conserve even more water, because now you have to pay for your water pump, the electric to power your water pump, and then you get to pay the city for the water. So you get double dinged. Isn't that wonderful? So what you're going to have to do is start conserving water. And in that video that I'm going to post at the end of this video, I was telling you that Carolyn does laundry out here. Now this is all clean water right now. Well, kind of clean. It rained last night, so some of the water drained, dirt on this drained off into the water here. So what she does is she has two sinks here. She does laundry in one and then rinses in the other. Then we take that water and we use it for other stuff. We'll take this water and we'll use it to flush our toilets. I'll carry a bucket of water in. We can flush the toilet with this water. If it's not raining, like all of July was pretty dry, she would carry buckets of water down to the garden, water her tomato plants. So she's reusing gray water is what it is. It's called gray water. Yeah, you wouldn't want to use it to take a bath in, but you can use it to do things that you don't need it for anymore. Now, I know there are people out there, oh, that's gross. You're using your dirty laundry water for your tomatoes. I would never eat your tomatoes. You're gross. And that is the same mentality as the people in California who expect me and the people with wells to pay for their problem. They want to use clean, fresh water for their toilets. I mean, imagine that, toilets, or their garden, where it really doesn't matter what kind of water you're putting on it. Think about this, the water that runs off the street and down into the streams and everything, that all gets put into your gardens and it's all being used. These folks are so spoiled that they believe that they have fresh, clean water, and then they put their fresh, clean water onto their lawns. Well, maybe they could take these rich people, I know they would never do it, these rich people in California who is using all this water up, expecting the poorer people, not poor, but people who have less money, to pay for their problems. So they're out there watering their gardens. What they should do is take the hose off the back of their wash machine, put it in a barrel. Let that barrel fill up with laundry water. And then they can go out and buy a pump if they wanted to. They can run the pump off solar panels if they want to be green. And they could pump that water from their buckets or their barrels onto their lawn, and they could water their lawn with their laundry water. But they're not going to do that. Oh no, that is just beneath them. Instead, they're going to take it from people, those ookie people in Louisiana. You know, that's what they're saying. Those ookie people in Missouri. Who needs them? Take their water. And when we take all their water and we'll be all rich and happy, then 100 million of them can die. Well, then what? Then you have nobody paying your bills. And then nobody's paying the water bill for their own well or the electric bill because you've starved them all out, taking all their water. It's history repeating itself. Time and time again, the poor have to pay for the rich. They think they're so special. So the only suggestion I could give is get away from it. Get to an area, like I've been saying, find yourself a cheap piece of property like this, get away from all that junk, get yourself some solar panels, and live happy, live free. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about California raising fruits and vegetables because you can raise your own. So if you'll click that box right here on the screen, that'll take you to the other video. So I hope I can inspire you to become independent so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.